Righty, boys. We've done it. We got to Masters today with Nasus with almost 64% win rate. 65% win rate in the top lane, I think. We got some autofills out there. And we did it without any mechanical skills, without any map awareness. Very bad CSing. Mainly getting our ass whooped in the lane in the early stages of the game, every single game. But we got there anyways, and I want to show you guys how we did it. I want to go through all the small details and just basically all the knowledge I have from thousands of games with Nasus. And Nasus has been my main, like one of my mains since season 5. Every single season we hit Diamond 1, and usually I just leave it there. I don't want to play in Masters, I don't want to play in Grandmasters. I know it sounds weird. I don't care about my elo. I just do Diamond 1 climbs with funny stuff. We hit Diamond 3 with Soraka attack speed jungle too. So we've done weird shit in our channel. You should follow, by the way. Each press of subs and stuff, that's one step away from my day jobs. I appreciate it, if you could. Now, one of the main things I would say you would have to start with is let's start from the champion lobby, for example. You let your jungle know don't ever gank top lane. He can gank you after level 9, but before that, you don't want jungler's appearance in top lane at all. And if you're saying you're having struggles and you're losing, that's the whole point. You should lose. You're playing Nasus, even in lower elos. And if you can get the enemy jungler there, and your jungler is ganking bot lane and mid lane, that's the best case scenario. The amount of times I've been the word, it's just ridiculous. I'm gonna show you an example of me getting whooped under turret. I'm gonna show you an example why I don't like junglers in general. I just let them know I love you, but please stay the fuck away from my lane. Thank you. And you should do the same. In this guide, I'm gonna go through the build also. We're gonna go through certain examples on how to manipulate the lane so it always comes towards you. You wanna be on the turret. I know there's a risk of getting, well, Master Yeed, as I say it. I'm show you in a minute. But in most cases, that happens like 1 in 100 games. And there's a lot of cases, at least in the lower elos, when you can just outplay the enemy on the turret. Your W is really good on that. So let's start off with the clip of the Warwick. So yeah, that's a Warwick right there, mate. I need accents to speak English. Well, yeah. So my way of climbing is very simple, but there's still small things that I feel like whenever I see a Nasus, they always have horrific stacks, and if they get stomped, they get really stomped. And yeah, I got you an example of getting stomped too. There are certain champions that can dive you, and that's your biggest risk. Like when you play Nasus, you always want to make sure you're in a position, in a place you really can get dove. That word. So let's see what happens when a Master Yi main from, I think it was Grandmasters or Master Elo. Currently, this account is playing with Grandmasters 300 LP-ish around. It has a decent matchmate rating. But yeah, just look at this Master Yi right here. So yeah, to avoid that, and well, that happens very rarely. Like from the 125 games, solo dives, I think Aatrox, Master Yi, I think those were the only ones that actually dove me during my climbs. There's a lot of duo diving, and a lot of poking. Like Aatrox is one of the more difficult matchups. If you can avoid it, or if there's any chance your team can ban them, Aatrox and Darius, you ban one and somebody else bans the other one, you're pretty much set to go. There's not many champions that can do that, and you don't see many Master Yis in the top lane of that level at least. So yeah, that was painful, man. Now let's move on to the builds. We're gonna go through all the builds that I use, which is basically 2, with 2 adjustments. I've made it very easy for myself, and these builds have worked, at least for me. I know there's a lot of different builds out there, but this is what I'm going with. Let's move on there. So let's talk about my simpleton build. I go with fleet footwork because it gives most value. The usage of it I'm gonna show you guys later, but it's basically it gives you movement speed when you take minions and also provides extra sustain. I know there's a lot of builds out there that say Conqueror. I think it takes too long to stack. And when it comes to lethal tempo, I feel like that's an okay option for damage, but I feel like your damage is gonna be fine if you just play correctly. I just don't see the value in those. And presence of mind, again, I get like the mana trading. If you do like a short trade, you always get mana back. I found that's more valuable than the mid game triumph, which is also a very solid option. At least for my play style, presence of mind has given me a lot of value. Legend part, the third row there, tenacity. Again, if there's CC, lifesteal. If there isn't, attack speed, skip. Last stand gives most damage value in my opinion. At least so far I felt like it. I don't know. It feels like it most of the time. And then to the resolve tree. Conditioning is like a scaling option. I feel like that's the best option you could go with because like well there's second wind. Second wind is a decent option also if the enemy has like short trades and you want to sustain more. And then there's bone plating that reduces the all-in potential, something like Irelia for example, or Chundamir. If you're struggling in lane and you want to get extra help, go with bone plating instead of conditioning. Personally, I always go with conditioning. I think it's very valuable rune overall. Just a great rune. And unflinching if there's CC, or you can go overgrowth if there isn't. Up to you. Runes, I use the attack speed rune basically to double tap the caster minions. Because without double tapping them, when the turret hits them, I'm going to show you guys that later too, it's going to be a hell of a struggle because you're going to be farming under turret most of the time with Nasus. And when turret is hitting the minions with attack speed, at least with my reaction time, I feel like that makes farming so much easier under turret. So that's my go-to. I don't go to the CDR because, I mean, it's nice, the ability haste, I mean, for the first rune, but I find that just makes farming way easier. Then the defense runes, obviously. AD, you take AD. If there's AP, you take magic resistance. That's it. Let's move to the builds. Don't ignore the item blocks. They're just effed up. If I feel like I can farm, if I can get to the minions and get CS, or the enemy is gonna push, regardless of what I do, like I can get the lane on the turret, I can get the minions, I go with Doran's Shield, always. I don't go Corruption Potion because, again, Doran's Shield overall gives more like regeneration and more value, at least with this build. And Doran Ring is for ranged top laners and something you really can't deal with. If Darius slips through and you forgot to ban, I'm gonna show you that again. That is also with the examples of why the Doran Ring build is very useful. I haven't, like the amount of lanes I've really lost, I think there's like 5. Today I lost to a very good master player who played Darius. I couldn't do anything. Just completely boned me. But Doran Ring wins you every single range top laner matchup. I'm gonna show you that also later. But then let's move on. There's the Bramble West against healing. If there's any healing, just take it. If your lane is Fiora, we fought against Challenger Fiora, one of the best Fiora players I feel like there is. A very good guy, Rantarosvo, shout out. One of my old viewers also been there like forever. Love you, Rantarosvo. And to be honest, we kind of beat you, dude. We kind of did. And he said the main counter for Fiora is that Bramble West. It reduces the sustain the Fiora has, just makes the lane easier. Aatrox, same thing. Go with Bramble. Even like something like Tryndamere, because Tryndamere is like you can time his basic attacks, and if he has to heal, he's gonna heal way less with his Q if you have Bramble. Now, obviously, Sheen gives you more sustain, more damage, gives you that all-in potential at level 7 and 9. Yeah, you're gonna get that. Kindle Game for CDR. And now to the boots. Always go Ionia boots. That's my opinion. I always go. Even if there's full AD, I start with Ionia boots. I play them until I have like 3 or 4 items. Then I might switch them. But Ionia boots just gives value. They're way cheaper than the other options. Everything about Ionia boots is just too great for Nasus. And also movement speed can reduce your damage to 0 if you don't get hit. Like something like Aatrox, for example. It gives you the ability to go to minions and get out way easier. I always go Ionias first. They're my number 1 priority, unless I go Bramble. Now, to the main item at hand. A lot of people might say there's other options. I feel like that's the best option. I mean, of course, you could go Trinity Force if you just want to go ham and do damage. That's an option. You can do that. But personally, I find that item is just all in all the best option. Currently, it's going to get nerfed next patch, so we might see what happens with it. If it's going to get worse or like completely useless. But at least at this moment, that item just... Divine Sunderer is the way to go. You can also go Eclipse, but you have to be very experienced with Nasus. I feel like that the damage build with Essence Reaver and Eclipse, it's a decent build, but it's really difficult to play, in my opinion. Gargoyle Stoneplate, obviously, second. Gives both stats. I don't go Frozen Heart ever. Unless there's Wayne, and like I get max value out of it. There's a lot of champions that you, like Yasuo, Wayne, Yone, like stuff like that. I might buy it. I've done it like twice. But I go Gargoyles. It's just a nice bait item. Just gives you so much value if you use it correctly. Then there's the two field builds down there. Again, ignore the title names. The first one is with the Dead Man's Blade and Force of Nature. This is the mobility build I used a lot in lower elos. The mobility is just too good. You're like a Garen in lane. You can go in and out as you want. That build works really well. And then the last build is the chunky build that makes you very tanky. I never buy Spirit Visage just because of the passive. I feel like that item in itself is not good enough compared to the better option, Force of Nature. But I buy it when I buy Dead's Dance because it also works for the Dead's Dance healing regeneration thing. Together, those are good options. Anathemas, Ananunananas, the item. Anathemas. I'm just gonna call it that. You know that I'm talking about. I buy that in very high yellow. Like now I've started buying it because there's usually somebody very obvious that's gonna deal a lot of damage. If you find somebody that there's one guy who's overfed, buy it because it's a good option. Then you can just replace it with whatever, like wherever it fits. If there's more AD, you obviously fit it into Force of Nature or Spirit Visage slot. So Anathemas is a very solid option, but it's very situational in my opinion. Now, I'm going to show you guys some examples of the gameplay of how I manage my lanes, and from the 125 lanes we've played in this account, most of them we actually won or came back to. Like, obviously losing in early game is every lane, but the secret is you need to get back to the game and be able to kill the enemy at certain turn points. Now, let's move on to that. Okay, so here's the laning phase. That's the first wave. This is the riskier way of playing. You got the Doran Shield going there. And Nikove, my paid actor here, is going to show you guys like some of the more common things. These are going to happen every single game. The first wave you should always contest because the enemy doesn't really have damage. And as you can see here, when Nikove hits me, look at the caster minions. The first thing they do, they target like Nikove, the Tryndamere there. And that happens every single time he hits you next to your minions. This also works for pinpoint abilities such as Teemo's Q, for example. Now, obviously, if there's no CS, I play back, and I'm ready to lose a lot of farm. There's games I win with like half of the CS my enemy has, because Nasus has a very, very strong turn point at level 7 and level 9. I was a bit greedy there, but as you can see, now I'm just waiting. If I lose some CS from this next wave, I take what I can, but I always it's more about like a risk calculation, like how much am I gonna cost? If I have full health, I always go for the CS, because I don't need full health. It doesn't matter. Like I need 80% health. That's the ideal spot I want to be under my turret. So if I lose my potion, and I'm just showing if there was a jungler now, that would be a prepared dive, for example. That's why I'm 80% health. Yeah. So now he pushed in. I don't even freeze. I don't care. Like, some people freeze, they're more scared of their turret platings, and maybe they dive into trying to freeze. They usually take too much damage during it, and then they get divin by the enemy jungler. For me, I just want the turrets under my... the minions under my turret. And also, if you look at the E's behavior here, if I smack my E there, I'm actually going to ruin most of the CS. With the double tap, if the turret hits a full health caster minion, that's where the attack speed rune comes in. Now, slow push, obviously. When the lane starts to go back, at this point, we're just thinking, alright, I'm gonna have to go back there. I have too much health. I would get hit. That hit is gonna make those casters hit Tryndamere again. He's most likely gonna use his E to gap close me at some point. I W, I move out. I let my casters hit him, max duration. I ward the lane river, I mean the lane bush there, because he can use that bush to actually remove the caster's aggro. I never ward the river. If the jungler's gonna come, he's gonna come. I don't get that type of time. If I have an extra ward like I do now, I could do that, but honestly, dudes, I'm lazy. I don't do that. I don't care about the wards. I use those wards for the lane bushes, because that's how I like control my minions' behavior. When he does the trade, I just slow him, move back, and again, I want to live under my turret. Max my stacks, keep my health up. If I go down to 50% or 60%, that's usually when I use my potions, because honestly, you don't want to stake under your turret with 50% health. It doesn't matter what type of jungler there is, there's a high chance you're gonna get like Divin. Obviously, by the way, guys, I'm not farming here because I'm making examples. This is not how the CSing should look. You guys know how to CS, right? Alright. So anyways, a lot of players do trades under your turret. Again, in there I could have used my W, because I feel like W is a very great tool of like removing the courage from the enemy to do trades on the turret. And if I stay like 50% health, I don't have a potion. He started to get level 6. This is one of those moments when I need to be very careful. With the Tryndamere, for example. Same goes for a lot of champions. Set, Aurelia. When they do the pushing, when they do the controlling of the lane, they're always going to hit level 6 first. Now, when they hit level 6, I do one of two things. One, I just move way back on my turret, so I'm just barely in the EXP range. And I watch them. If they come from me, I just W them, use my ghost instantly. So I don't give them any chance of getting that kill. Then I move under my turret, I start hitting my minions, I try to get that level 6. That's when the dive goes to hell. They're gonna die. Because you can just ult and sustain. But it takes a lot of practice, but you get the basic idea. Manipulate your casters to attack the enemy by getting hit. You want to be the punching bag of the game, like of the lane, not the game. The game you're gonna dominate. That's how it works. But yeah, the enemy can do something called like over-aggression. When the minions hit, he's gonna be behind your casters, just waiting for you. He doesn't give a crap about the melee minions. This is how I actually killed a lot of Tryndameres, and a lot of like Fioras. Just make sure they don't get the proc. He got a little overexcited there, but that's a good example of how people do the dives. You're slow with your ghost. It doesn't matter if the enemy can match your ghost. You're still gonna be faster if you got the W up. So that's what I usually do. I wait for the dive. If they get too greedy, I just slow them and run away. But yeah, the laning phase is based on the basic principle of getting hit, getting the lane under you, trying to get the enemy to cleave the minions. And after the push starts, don't go for like a single caster or a single melee minion. If it's obvious and you have like 80% health, 70% health, keep it there. That's the perfect amount of health you need. Don't go below 50%. That's when the dive can go sideways and you can actually lose. And also you should match, this is why I go Ionias. There's a lot of champions currently who go boots first, and that's why you match those berserker boots. If you're slower than him, he's gonna hit you way more. Your W with your number 2 boots are gonna make you like unkillable when your W is up. You get the gist. Now, this doesn't happen that much in lower elos, but the synchronized diving is one of those points when you lose a lot of CS. Now, in that point, you need to make like a conscious decision, like, alright, where the minion wave is. If by somehow a jungler ganks you now, they push some plates, next time you see the lane in the midpoint or next to the enemy's turret, for example, that's when you need to do something like farm jungle camps. I don't care, I do it. I do whatever I need to survive. I even gank mid lane if I have to, like in bad games. I just go there and slow the mid lane and do something. But just standing still under your turret is never like a solid option. If you can feel like you can get the ground, for example, just go for it. Maximize your gold income to the best of your ability. Because at level 7 and level 9, you are a completely different dog in this game. You can basically 1 against 1 anyone. That's my opinion. We're gonna go through a little bit about the kiting thing. Now Teemo. Some people say it's the worst laner you could be against, and you're not wrong if you do it incorrectly. Now, this is what Teemo does. This is basic of Teemo. Like, you're trying to get your CS in the first wave, you're gonna lose half your health. Sometimes even die if you're too slow. And eventually Teemo's gonna bully you out. You really can't. As you can see here, your Gu is very useless. Like, I got 1 minion with my Gu. Now I'm just sitting here. And whenever I'm thinking about getting CS, the Teemo is thinking about hitting me. Like, I mean, the plus side is he's gonna passively push and you could, like, struggle. In most cases, this is gonna happen. You're gonna go for a CS, he's gonna start hitting you, you're gonna be like, oh no, he's gonna do that, and then you're gonna die. So yeah, that's an example of playing with the Doran Shield. We didn't want to redo the match again just to buy the Doran Shield and Doran Ring, so I just went with the Doran Ring here. But now, let's move on to the laning phase that you should do with Teemo and every single caster, every single ranged champion in the top lane that are usually like enemies of Nasus. Your main opponents that are gonna make your life miserable. Yeah, you know what okay, Jesus, my English is horrible. Anyways, I'm gonna show you guys an example. We're gonna fast forward a little bit and get to that point. Now, let's say you started with your E. I told Nikove to be in the max range of his Gu. That's around the max range. It's the middle point. And that's his Gu only. His basic attacks are way shorter. So you can actually outrange Teemo and Quinn and Auction and basically any top lane you have, you can outrange them with your E. So that's what I do. I buy a Doran's Ring. I just start with my E. I don't consider myself with the stacks because, as you can see here, look at Teemo's health at the few E's. If I use my E correctly, I max range it, he's gonna get poked out. He doesn't have the sustain, he doesn't have any lifesteal. Most top laners doesn't, and even if they do, if they buy like a Vampiric, your E's constant damage with like every 10 seconds, you're still gonna out damage them. And you're also gonna get CS. At level 7 with the Doran Ring, 1 E can actually clear out the caster minions completely. And that's your goal, timing your E so it hits the minions and hits the Teemo. In this situation here, as you can see, I kind of effed up my casters, so you want to be mindful of when you use it. But Teemo's going to have to go base. And in this point, the lane gets very, very weird in a way. I push. I basically start bullying the Teemo. Yeah, you should be mindful of the jungler's position because you're not under your turret in this gameplay. But I usually just start spamming my E to the minions and start poking the enemy under their turret. So he's gonna have to go base or just spamming his jungler while he's like 100 health under turret. This works every time. You can do it from the bush. You always want to cleave. You want to be mindful of your mana because E takes a lot of mana. 80 mana per cast. I mean, 90, whatever. It's a lot of cost. So second item I buy is actually that here. This is one of those exceptions that I talked about. Because of the constant usage of W and E, you want to get as much mana as possible. Second item is obviously because he has Berserker Boots, he can actually gap close me. What I can do is use my W, I still win the trade, even without going to base. It's very difficult to win a Nasus when they start being, annoying like this. Even Teemo, like, I haven't even beat here. I could just get the tier, I could get like my refillables back. Or I could just I can kill him at level 7. I do 3, basic usage of my E's. I do 3 E's at level 7. I poke him to low, I use my ultimate and ghost, and I just ran him over. Without any stacks. I don't need stacks. Sometimes I get like 30 or 40. I start getting stacks after I start dominating the lane. After I get ability haste from the gold I get in the lane. Now, in my opinion, this style actually, there's a lot of games where I still have a decent amount of CS by 20 minutes because I get items faster. If I didn't do this, I would be poked out, killed, and I wouldn't get any CS. There's no gold, there's no levels, there's nothing. That's your lane if you don't survive the lane. In my personal opinion, this is the only way to win the lane against like high damage casters like that. Against something like a Vladimir, don't do this. Vladimir doesn't have the damage. Jace doesn't have the damage. Let's see, what else? Malphite, Ornn, stuff like that. There's a lot of champions that just don't possess the damage to actually bully you out. It's all about thinking like champions that can constantly hit you and deal significant amount of damage to actually push you out of the lane. There's a lot of easy lanes. Kayle, the easiest lane. Easiest lane there is. Kale is very common too. If you get a Kale lane, just stack your heart out. He doesn't have the power to push you out. And he also needs to scale, so he's going to be farming. Now, when it comes to these caster lanes, these, Titos, they lose very fast if you do this correctly. So don't stack your E 5 times. Why? Because in most, actually don't even do it 4 times in most, like it really depends. 4 times if you're not dominating them. Usually 3 stacks is enough to poke them out to get them in a kill condition, like this Teemo here. I'm not killing him because he's Nikove. But I could. Like, I could do anything to him at this point, obviously, if this was a real game. Now, Teemo gets poked out by 3 E's and you can kill him at level 7. Queen is basically the same. If they somehow gap close you and just move to you and start basic attacking, use your W and E, they're gonna take more damage in the E because it does the double damage with the burn if they stand in it. This is also a great zoning tool. Now listen here. When you use your E towards your enemy, he's gonna most likely move back, which gives you the opportunity to grab a stack. That's what I do. I don't want to like completely ignore my stack, so if I get the chance of like a cannon, I use my E so he doesn't move in. If he does, he might die, and I take the stack. Obviously, that was not a good example, but you get the idea. I had freaking 9 stacks. But this is what I do like every single game. This is how I control the lane, even though I'm not supposed to. And there's a lot of players who think like this is just freaking weird. And Teemo is just hopeless. He's just running around. What the fuck is going on? How do I get outpoked by a champion that I should be countering? Now, use this. Hope this is something new. If it's not, well, that's a Tito, man. You don't lose to Tito. We don't lose to Titos. It is what it is. Tito is a Tito. That's a complete blasphemy of a champion. Now let me think. Let's talk about lanes really fast here. Just like basic. I'm gonna give you like a short list of lanes that I think common and easy, hard, and what style of laning you should use. Now this here is, in my opinion, is the tier list. This just ran out of room from the easy lanes. On the left side you can see Darren Ring builds. Champions I build Darren Ring against. You can also add any single range top laner to the easy side, unless they're in the top side. There is no difficult like range top laner in my opinion. So far I haven't lost to them. Obviously they can be a painful pain if you do your best to just get stacks, but to be honest you don't, and you still get the stacks, trust me, in the middle game. You're just gonna you're gonna be stacking a bit longer, you're gonna be stomping, it's gonna take time. And also remember to build yourself still the same way as you would if you get the stacks. If you be stacking the whole game, you can't go AP build in my opinion. AP build is not that efficient. There's no reason. You still get the stacks, trust me. Just get them a bit later. So, anyways, I'm gonna go through these like champions here. I don't know why Kane is there. Oh yeah, I clicked in accidentally. But yeah, and reasons, like fast reasons why these are easy and what are hard. Let's go through the hardest ones first. They're not in any particular order. I just shoved them there when I saw them in the list. Aatrox can bully you under turret. Very difficult, very hard. Has a very wide range, like a long range of damage. Ionia boots, Doran Ring start, and you go for Ionia boots and Bramble Vest instantly as fast as you can. That's gonna reduce like his sustain. Bramble Vest is more important. I would go boots number 1 and Bramble Vest. Why? Because you want to reduce his sustain against your E's damage. Do your best to dodge his abilities. In the lower levels, their cooldown is pretty significant, so you're not in a big trouble if you dodge it. After that, you just have to keep your distance and poke him out with your E. Don't mind CS. If you get that champion, and if he's a good player, he's gonna whoop your ass. It happens. Just do your best not to die. Also, Aatrox is very viable of diving because of his lifesteal and movement speed with his ult. And also his W and burst of his Q. With a lot of junglers, he has nice synergy, so it's a very dangerous matchup. Darius, you have no business in the lane. If he doesn't want to give you CS, you don't CS. So you go with E and you do your best to survive. You don't want your jungler there. Your jungler is he will die because this happened to me today. My Grandmaster tier Rengar actually ganked the Darius and died to him. Then we ended up being 2 against 2, and I actually lost the lane from that point. He just moved between my turrets waited for me and hunted me down and just started killing me. Darius is the number one like killer of you. He can kill you in any early stage of the game so easily, so avoid this pick. The number one bans would be Aatrox and Darius. Camille, the reason why he's annoying is the true damage scales. Like, he gets a lot of true damage to you through the game. There's a lot of stages in the game, he still does a lot of damage. He can bully you in lane very consistently, and his trades hurt. It's very hard to, like, trade back to him. You can do a trick when you do your E and Q, because if you do your E, he's gonna shield against AP damage instead of AD damage. I think it goes by the last damage he took from you. If you put E under you when he does the trade, I think he's gonna shield against magic damage. So that's when you can do a short trade back. I'm talking level 7, 6, somewhere around that ballpark. Also, his ultimate is a very, very difficult thing to deal with, because there's a lot of junglers who can like abuse that. You're in place for the ultimate's duration, the enemy jungler can just walk to you and you're most likely dead if you're not under your turret. Seth is like Darius in my opinion. He just sustains better, but his damage is not that like dangerous. Like, you can actually go get minions, he pokes you out, he starts hitting you, he's gonna passively push the wave. His W and his E, you want him to hit the minions too, so always let him trade to you under your minions. The reason why I put him there, because I've seen some seriously good set players. They make Nasus' life very difficult. His ultimate also makes diving like very easy, and because of his W, he just sustains so much. He can just hit you for ages on the turret. And with some of the junglers' help, it's a problem. Now for Garen, I know some of you are like, wait, Garen's an easy one? Yeah, Garen is an easy one. The reason is his Q can be countered by a W. After he uses his Q, you can just slow him. His E doesn't do, you can just walk out of his E. I think Garen is one of the easier ones. Do the same thing as you always do. If he uses Q, W, if he uses E, try to be next to your minions, so he starts cleaving those down. The problem is that Garen just has a very... I mean, they're hard lanes, sorry. Not an easy one. Hard lane, but you can still stack. I think you can survive a Garen lane, but a good Garen can make your life difficult. My bad. But not one of the more difficult ones. Jax, same thing. A very good Jax can whoop you, but in most cases the Jax is very down with his E. His E is the condition that he wins with. So don't let him do strong trades to you. His W is the and his ult passive of the thing that actually hurts. He does short trades until he dives you. After level 7 and 9, you whoop him. Just use your W, go in. If he uses E, move out. Wait the E to run out, just start smacking. I think Jax is one of the easier ones in the hard lanes with Doran Shield. Irelia, let's move there straight. That's a pain in the ass. Just, he has such a big reach, but without hitting his E, he's not that dangerous. Be mindful of your minions. This is the, I think, most Brainiac lane. You have to like watch your minions' health at all times. If he gets the max stacks, you're gonna get whooped. So don't be near him with them. Get the Bramble Vest ASAP. Obviously, he's gonna go with Lifesteal build. Most of them do. And yeah, that's Irelia. Kled, I think a very suppressive champion, has some diving potential. Not the worst one. Again, I've actually won a lot of Kleds, like completely dominated them. The trick is just dodge his Q, let him push with his Q, just stack until level 9, get the Bramble, they go with heal 2, Conk. It's a very useful item in the early game. And just move out of them. Hecarim, you don't see that much these days, but Hecarim can actually be a very difficult lane if you run into one. I have to drink, 1 second. Oh, that's good. Shen, to your surprise, Shen is a very difficult lane. He has a very high burst with his Q. The trick is just play time. He's gonna ult somewhere and you're gonna stack and you're gonna kill him. His W blocks your Q, so your goal is to like bait him to use his W and then just go in. Kill him. And don't use your E until he uses his E. Why? Your E gives armor penetration. Shen usually has a lot of armor, and you wanna fight inside your E. Urgot passively pushes, so that's the best part. He's gonna be under your turret. He doesn't have that much poke damage. He has a nice all-in damage. So if he goes into you like level 4, level 5, you're gonna get whooped. But again, just play very like scared. Just let him push into you, bait the fights into your minions, and you're like gonna get all the minions under your turret really fast. Yone is kind of like, I feel like Yone is kind of like Aatrox in a way. he can actually damage you a lot under your turret, like very safely. And his E and his ult, he can actually dive you very safely if he's a good player. But the downside of Yone, where he's not like Doran Ring material, is the fact that at level 9, so far, I can triple Q a Yone. I can also sustain a Yone, because his Q and his W usually pushes a lot of minions under my turret. Tryndamere, well, W, that's it. You just run out. And you match his ghost with your ghost, obviously, because you're not a moron, and you don't use TP. That's my opinion. I'm sorry, I hate TP. I hate it. I'm sorry. And Master Yi, well, you saw what happens. If there's a good Master Yi, you're in trouble. If there's not, you can just kill him. He's a weak champion in my opinion. I don't know why he killed me. I'm still so confused about this guy. He was so good. Doran Ring, there's the casters. Rengar actually is one of the weird ones, if you see a Rengar top. Renekton too, he sustains very well. I don't know, I just kind of put Renekton there. Everything else fits. But Renekton is kind of like iffy. There's good Renekton players, they do nice trades, short trades, but they also passively push, so there's a lot of potential to get CS on the turret. So, honestly, I feel like that should be a Doran Shield. Now, the easy matchups, there's a lot of them. That's all I could fit. The first ones I found. Minus the Kayn. Kayn doesn't do top, I think. Riven, very easy. Pushes a lot with his like abilities. When he gap closes you, you want to keep your distance, so he uses his Q and W to gap close instead of just walk to you and start using his abilities, which they should do. But like a bad Riven, I don't remember the last time I lost to a Riven since like season 8. The matchup is just easy. Olaf, don't see that in the top lane, but if you do, just, I don't know, W him. He's not a difficult matchup. You just don't want to fight him, obviously. And when you do fight him, you want to like Q in and Q out. You want to go outside, do the Q, move back. You don't want to be in a constant fight, you know, like do your basic attacks, because he's gonna like out damage you so hard, even with your W. Sion, it's more about like dodging and weaving. One of those champions that every time pushes into you, gives you a lot of CS, and you can actually start killing a Sion really early, even at level 7 and 6. Tom, he doesn't have the damage these days, I feel like. The last Tom I played against was a Diamond, I think, 3. And that Tom he tried everything. He was just hitting me, and he was passively pushing, and I just sustained through the minions, kept myself alive, and at level 7 I ult in. I went all in and killed him. Vladimir doesn't have the damage again. You can dodge his E with the minions if you want to be very super efficient. If he gets the red bar Q, move out, don't get close. Mordekaiser, same thing, pushes, you farm, you kill. With Mordekaiser, you want to be aware of one thing. If you use your ultimate before he does, he's going to drain your stats from your ultimate, like your ultimate benefit, the stats you get from your ultimate. He's going to drain those. Don't do that. Same goes for Trundle. We actually whooped the Trundle today completely to oblivion. He went like 1-8 or 2-7 or something like that. He died a lot. And we started killing Trundle since level 6. I know that Trundle was in Grandmasters. Just saying. Trundle is the same thing. It's all about like patience and short trading at level 7 and level 9 until you can all in them. But be mindful of your ultimate. Kennen doesn't have the damage. Just doesn't. Gnar, I haven't lost to a Gnar never, ever in the history of Gnar players. Gnar just doesn't have the same level of damage as other like ranged top laners do. You don't need to even respect him. He's just like, he's gonna do 47 plus grasp, which is like 59 damage with a basic attack. As long as you just get the CS, move out, and he doesn't get like a good ult under his turret, you're gonna be fine. I don't see how you can actually lose. I think the only way you could lose is if you just stand in the minions, hitting the minions and getting them low. If you just move in to grab a minion, he's gonna push into you, and you can just free farm deck. It's easy. Kale, level 7, just kill it. Kill it before it lays eggs. That's my opinion. You need to kill Kale as fast as possible. Why? Kale scales strong at level 16, but you can actually kill him like 10 times before that. If he ults, you have Ghost. You move out, you move back in, you kill him. Kale is usually 3 Qs and he's dead. Because you can free stack the whole early game. Like Kale doesn't have anything to push you out of the game. You have more sustain than she does. You're just all in all better champion, in my opinion. Only way Kale wins if he gets like level 18 and full build. That's when she starts hurting really, really bad. On actually hurts a lot, but everything is avoidable, and a lot of his abilities push minions towards you. So it's all about baiting again. You want to get traded on, you want to get whooped, you want to do it in your minions. He's gonna push, you're gonna farm. On is not, I mean, on is in the middle, like hard and easy lanes. It can be difficult, but usually it isn't. Malphite doesn't have the damage. He's gonna run out of mana before you run out of health, and then he's gonna be there like a rock. He's just gonna stand there, not do anything. Akali, same thing. Akali's just problem is a good Akali knows how to like manage his cooldowns, her cooldowns. I don't know. She hurts, but everything again is avoidable, and you're gonna run him down at level 7 and level 9. 9 is always confirmed kill, like unless you died like 5 times. But at level 9, if you do your laning completely correctly, and at this point I'm gonna give you guys the secret, the correct stack amount, the goal, is not as much as you might think. 12 minutes, 200. 20 minutes, 400. 30 minutes, 600. I know, you can get way more. I've had ridiculously more, but that would be the average and the goal to go every game. Don't ever go like 50 stacks in a Doran Shield matchup. You need to have balls, you need to be like, you need to have the knowledge to go into the minions and just get hit and get the minions. Just be wary of the matchups that can actually kill you, all in you, and have the damage to go from 100 to 0. Cho'Gath, well, I mean, come on. It's a Cho'Gath. Like, really? He just pokes you and you sustain. He runs out of mana. If he builds tanky, he runs out of mana way faster than usually. Like in usual situations. He buys tier. He tries to sustain. You already have stacks. You ult, you kill him. Divine Sunderer, like, completely wrecks that champion, as all the tanks. GP, same thing, runs out of mana, even though he buys all the mana items. Just dodge the barrels, don't get hit unnecessarily, you know. I just get the minions, he pokes me. His Q is also counted as a basic attack, you need to remember that. The GP's Q also aggroes your minions, so it's always a passive push towards you. Now, Fiora, again, haven't lost to a Fiora, even the best ones, even the freaking professional Rantarosvo Fiora players, because I feel like Fiora, like, he needs to get those vitals. He needs like a very good setting, and Bramble West like completely counters her kit in so many ways. Like, even if he gets the proc, it's always 40% reduction. And when you get the stacks, most Fiora builds, like, you can just E and start smacking them. Hug a wall. This would be the main. There's a lot of Fiora players that don't know how to get the proc off the wall. If you start an all-in at level 9, there's a lot of like places you can just hug and go against so they don't get the 4 procs. That's how I do it. I just go next to a wall. If they run away, I usually use W. I try to chase a bit. Again, fall back so they don't get that last proc. So you win every time. Eloy, I know. Oh, wait, Jace. Jace is a joke. Doesn't have the damage. Run him down at level 7. There should never be a problem against the Jace. I've had, like, I think 3 or 4 Jaces from Master and High Diamond, like, in the past 2 weeks. And they all died a lot of times. All I did was just farm. They do the trade, they do the all-in trade, like a goo bomb. Dodge it if you can. Does the melee goo. Does the E. Runs out of mana at some point. And you keep just farming. I've never had with the issue with the Jace, at this current state at least. Eloy, some might say it's a difficult matchup, but again, if you dodge his Eloy's E, there's no damage income other than the Q, and that you can sustain. E is his basically the poke condition. And then he has the all-in. Again, Bramble counters his healing, her healing. I'm sorry with the she and he, I'm just bad in English, my bad. But yeah, she just, I feel like you just have to like fuck up really good if you want to die to her. That's how I see it. But yeah, did I go through everything? I think I did. So anyways, the matchups you should be careful with are the 4 in the left top corner. Everything else you should win. All right, you gonna win. So, did you learn anything? Did I help you with anything? Did you get anything out of this video? Video. Whoa. Anyways, if you did, I would so much appreciate a follow and a subscribe. So at this current state, I'm actually in Twitch almost every single day speaking Finnish. Now, if this video can get like, let's say 1,000, 2,000 follows, maybe there, like a thumbs up, whatever the YouTube does, I might start speaking this beautiful English you're hearing right now. This mixed up with 10 different accents, but still kind of clunky, right? So, anyways, I hope this helped you. We've done a lot of like Nasus games. If you need any further assistance, you have any questions about builds, you have an argument you want to talk about, put it in a chat comment, come to the Twitch, let me know about it. We can have a real live conversation about it. I love feedback. Give it to me, even the bad ones. I'll cry probably. You know, I'm a sweetheart. You know, I'm a very emotional guy. You know, I'm not. But anyways, thank you so much. I appreciate it. And by the way, we're going to Grandmasters. That's the next goal. That's where we're trying to go. You can join the journey in Twitch. You see the name right there. Down. No, that's the wrong. Somewhere down there. You know. So thank you very much. And this is my first video. Give me the feedback for editing. I'm gonna. This is the worst outro there is. Thank you guys. Bye.